Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto 2 Blue Vortex manga chapter review. This one's going to be for chapter 24, which is called Uzumaki Kawaki. So overall this was a interesting chapter because it did move the plot along. By the end, even though they maybe didn't give us maybe what we were perhaps expecting with a big Boruto Momoshiki moment or something crazy with Boruto and the karma, just the fact that a retreat actually happened sets up like, okay, so we're going to give time for the likes of Sarada, Inojin and stuff like that a chance to recover before we set up the actual kind of end game fights. That's good. That's really good to know because for the last few chapters, there's definitely been a sense where like, are they going down the path of this incident will eventually build and build and build and kind of become the big final battles? There was maybe a sense that that's what we were doing, but no. We actually have the retreat happen here, and the whole chapter kind of serves to kind of reframe the fight as like, oh no, they planned it from the start this way, in terms of like it was just buying time for Kawaki to arrive, and then when Boruto arrived, and then when he arrives, for Boruto to, you know, concentrate on the teleportation basically away. Okay, that's what we're doing. There is some interesting dialogue from Jura once, you know, we get to talking after the actual fight for the first kind of half. The cliffhanger is really odd. We'll get to it. The actual like final page is such an odd choice because it's a volume ending chapter. It's not just the end of a chapter, it's the end of like an entire volume is just going to be that like weird joke. It's kind of funny in that regard, but they are moving other plots along, which I think they have needed to do. So like the mention that Mamushi is doing something is actually good to know. Whereas previously there was a bit of a like, I don't think we've done the setup on this one all that well. Now we're doing it, so that's good. So yeah, let's get into going through this kind of page by page. So our cover page is Kawaki, kind of all kind of powered up, ready to go. We see the karma mark. He's got his kind of chakra rod staff. Looks very cool. But yeah, we get in and we jump straight into a flashback to Boruto and Kawaki's kind of conversation where like he told him to go to Amado and basically get his powers unlimited. And yeah, we just get the backstory of like, yeah, you know, head to the sand village as soon as your powers are kind of your limiters are removed and help everyone. Then I'll arrive there too. Your presence will give us a chance to kind of get away. We're not going to be able to actually take out Jura right now, but how do we survive the fight? It's, well, I need a little bit of time to use my flying Raijin because we have to teleport a long distance away, and I can only do that if there's someone else involved in the fight and I can concentrate on it. So this is what we do as we sort of transition kind of back into the kind of present day fight. Is that, yeah, Kawaki is here to buy Boruto time. So you go into this fight knowing that like it's not going to end right now. That's not what we're doing here. So we're not really building up to any fancy moves, I think, on anyone's part necessarily. This is not the final fight. They will save stuff for the final fight, so that's what we're doing here. So yeah, the two charge at each other. We get a Tail Beast Bomb. It gets absorbed by Kawaki, who of course has his karma out. We see the karma is beginning to activate on Boruto, kind of in response to that. And then we just get some quick kind of speed-based combat. Jura tries to come behind Kawaki, but he kind of, you know, teleports away, replaces himself with the cubes, of course, the powers that he has. They create a lot of dust and a distraction. Kawaki then returns and tries to get Jura from behind with his big sort of ninja tool kind of claw arm. Jura kind of jumps away, the staff comes out, and they have more kind of like melee taijutsu kind of combat at this point. This is where Kawaki uses the staff, he hits him and kind of blows a hole in his side, hits him a few more times, and it feels like, wow, he actually delivered a pretty devastating blow there in addition to the previous one that he did. But we know that this is not going to be enough because, again, he like stabbed him through the head before. This is definitely not going to be it. We do then cut to Boruto and what's happening with him, and we see he's kind of holding his arm like, you know, okay, it's all right, calm down, calm yourself, the karma's activating, but it's not chaos just yet. So this is really the only teaser with this in the chapter, because they set up that Boruto is mostly concentrating on doing teleportation. I'm guessing he's staying away from the main battle as well, whereas if it was more up close, maybe there'd be more of a risk of something happening, but that's what we're doing right now. And yeah, as we cut away in this kind of little break in the fight, we see that Sumire and Amado are watching this fight kind of play out on the monitor, basically through Kawaki's eyes. Sumire is just like, wow, I can't believe he's pushing Jura this much. Maybe he can actually win. But then Jura, lying in the rubble that he's just crashed into, just takes a book out and is like, Uzumaki Kawaki, as I thought, you're displaying incomparably greater combat ability than before. However, did you manage to acquire such power in so short a time? Actually, it's not just you. Himawari basically did the same thing. Also, you know, kind of in response to what happened to Inojin, that sacrifice served as a trigger in some way. And then he mentions, and Uchiha Sarada, she unexpectedly awakened a power and took down my brethren kind of easily. Interestingly, as he says this, we do get Sumire's reaction to hearing that Sarada awakened a power, which is interesting. It makes sense because we're doing a retreat, we're now going to actually get, I suppose, Sarada and Sumire are probably going to have their quote-unquote confrontation when she gets back. So this is a little setup on that front, that she has actually moved forward a little bit, I suppose, to be more kind of maybe honest with herself on the point of conflict that there was between the two girls, like prior to this happening. But yeah, Jura then continues, every one of these unusual situations that would be unthinkable under normal circumstances, and it is my opinion that what all these concerning incidents seem to have in common is the topic I'm currently passionately researching, the thing called love. And he's like, he views it as being inherently a weakness, a fatal weakness, but is it also the factor that enables this extraordinary evolution? What do you think? I want your honest opinion. And Kawaki just walks up to him and is like, you talk a lot for a pest. Energy blast just like seemingly takes him out, but obviously that's not the case. So big smoke, but then roots of a tree kind of come up and go all over Jura. And he's like, don't blow your fuse so quickly, Kawaki. I just want to chat to you. And it forms a bit of a kind of throne type situation. He's like fully recovered. I mean, I never expected you to come to Boruto's rescue, for as far as I know, there's only one thing in this world that you want to protect, and that is supposed to be Uzumaki Naruto. So this is a very interesting turn in terms of him finally addressing this situation, because I think a lot of us maybe felt that, like, when they did the Himawari reveal, were they going with the idea that, like, his target, again, that he said was Naruto. He wants to track down Naruto. But then he seemed to like laser focus on Himawari when she popped up. Now, the conclusion that you come to here is that he's kind of just after like tail beast energy, and Himawari was the one who had it, but he still is after Naruto, which is what we find out here. And he makes this interesting reveal. A while ago, I went to Konoha seeking him, and I was shocked to learn that he had passed away. But now, looking into your sincere eyes, I'm convinced Uzumaki Naruto, he's alive, isn't he? Again, Sumire has the reaction to, like, I guess another person kind of saying that he is actually alive. So this is becoming something that more and more people are kind of realizing. They are throwing this out there quite a bit around a lot of people. So I'm right, you're easy to read. I'm not good at lying either, and I know this will likely get under your skin, but I want to consume Uzumaki Naruto. So he doubles down that Naruto is the one he wants. I heard that he shared a deep bond with many of the Biju, and perhaps love had something to do with that as well. I can't help thinking that. I'm hoping that I might learn more about love if I devour him. This forces Kawaki to attack, but this is when Boruto kind of arrives back and is like, hey, I'm ready. So I like this kind of going back to the idea that, like, okay, he might still be interested in Himawari if she pops up, but Naruto is still something that he's very, very interested in. And obviously is still a plot point. We do still have to address the idea of like getting Naruto kind of back into play. Just remembering almost the idea that like, oh yeah, the omnipotence thing is still kind of in play. The switcheroo, that is something we still need to address, of course. How is it all going to play out as we kind of go forward is still the idea. So yeah, Boruto says, sorry about the wait, we're good now. I've got a lock on the symbol. Jura knows exactly what this means. You're flying Raijin, I take it. I loathe us parting, but so be it. I suppose we're done for today. Let's go. Kawaki wants to get a few more final words in there, so he kind of like swats Boruto's hand aside and is like, give me a sec. Hey Jura, listen up. I don't really give a crap about love, but I will give you credit for your instincts and intuition in setting your eyes on Lord Seventh. Don't misunderstand though, you will die by my hand. I swear on it. And Jura's just like, amusing. I appreciate you being frank with me. Now I'm done. And he just says, I'm glad we got to talk. Let us meet again. And they kind of teleport away. But just before they go, we get a full page of just Boruto looking back, but also Kawaki looking back. And Kawaki puts the middle finger up to Jura as they teleport away. So very kind of fun. Obviously, Kawaki's all about the attitude. It makes sense that, of course, he does this, obviously. Now, the scene itself is kind of interesting in terms of like, okay, I don't give a crap about love, but I will give you credit for your instincts and intuition in setting your eyes on Lord Seven. So it's sort of the idea that, like, I guess Kawaki looks up to Lord Seventh. Maybe he's lying a little bit about, you know, the idea of like love is kind of not really involved in it at all. But like the idea is that they both admire to a certain degree. They look at Naruto and see something that they admire and focus on. And Kawaki will do anything to protect Naruto. And he kind of is praising his enemy here for basically deciding, I guess, on a worthy target is sort of the idea. But he's like, you're an Otsutsuki, basically. I'm coming after you type thing. It is a slightly kind of confusing situation. He's more focused on the Otsutsukis, but obviously because the Ten Tails are related, it is connected in there. But anyway, then we cut over to Konohamaru, Mitsuki, Delta, and the still out cold Sarada. So Delta has put one of Boruto's markers on the ground. We get the detail that like it's harder to sense it if someone's holding it, so that's why it's on the ground. She tells Konohamaru, you should probably take a step back. There needs to be a bit of space when he comes in. It'd be pitiful if someone got stomped on or something, and then immediately the teleport comes in and it's Kawaki stepping on Konohamaru's face in a very, very fun moment. So they arrive in. What are you doing? Konohamaru's like, that's my line. What are you doing? He still has the Soul Thorn bulb, of course. Now, do remember, it was a detail from the last chapter. Araya has gone off with the other Soul Thorn bulb. And I think he has Yodo as well. So, this is still an active plot point. Even though we're sort of like taking a bit of a break in terms of the major fights, we still have both of these situations that we quote-unquote need to resolve, where it seems like we've actually defeated two of the Divine Tree characters and can get two of our people back. But are we going to do that right now? I'm not sure. They're going to head straight for Konoha, so I guess we're going to try and get Moegi back. So that's kind of cool. But we cut away from that to Ada talking to Kashin Koji. Again, it's the frog on Ada's arm, but effectively because she can like see him directly with her powers, you know, they're effectively having a deeper conversation than like over the phone. But anyway, I wasn't sure how it'd turn out, but we can breathe easy now. Kashin Koji, as usual, is like, you know, this shouldn't be praised. It was too dangerous. That could have gone wrong. It could have destroyed the good futures. That's the way he's kind of thinking about this, and that like, okay, we got out of this situation, but these new scenarios could have all had very bad end points. So he's still very worried about the overall end point of all of this stuff. It's a good thing that Boruto survived, of course, but the future has greatly shifted again. Ada just points out, what's the big deal? Isn't that how life usually works to begin with? But he just points out this isn't someone else's problem, Ada, because Mamushi's going on the move and his target is you. And she's like, wait, what? Gross. So yeah, we cut to Mamushi, but he's just sitting there, so we don't actually know exactly what he's going to do, but they're setting up that he's going to make his move. Now, obviously the idea here is going to be that this is going to probably set up a fight between Mamushi and Demon. Now, Ada's going to have to be involved in that to a certain degree. She says she's not a fighter. We'll see how that exactly goes, how many people are or are not involved there, but it is one of the fights that we're kind of setting up in terms of, like, there is a little bit that we maybe have to go into because he's the guy who's based on Bug, and like, are they going to actually address if she maybe sees some of Bug in Mamushi? But anyway. And then we get the last 2 pages, which are really odd. So, Jura is now back in their kind of usual hideout. He's sitting next to Hidari, who, it's Hidari reading a book. And Hidari's like, hey, what's with your facial expression? You feel unwell or something? And he's like, just the opposite. Listen to this. Kawaki actually paid me a compliment. And Hidari flips through a book and he's like, there's a modern phrase I just learned that might be appropriate to use now. Oh, what is it? And Hidari's just like, with a complete straight face, totally ick. And the final panel of the chapter, of the volume, is just Jura's reaction to Hidari saying totally ick, as just like, what? Like, I get the idea is that they're gradually becoming, I guess, more and more human as they kind of understand this stuff more and more. I guess this is him making a pretty deadpan joke to a certain degree that, like, hey, Kawaki complimented me on what I did, and he's kind of saying, like, you don't want a compliment from him type thing. So, I don't know. Are they trying to get across that this is maybe he's got a bit of, like, Sasuke's kind of sense of humor here, and that's kind of the human aspect that's maybe coming out a little bit here? But they're definitely emphasizing this more and more kind of as we go forward, that this is going to be a key part of a lot of these battles. We already saw it, I think, probably most heavily with the Matsuri kind of one, where like the romance was kind of involved in betrayal. And I guess we'll see different elements of kind of humanity in a way come out as we get the various reveals as each of the fights kind of play out, in terms of, like, we really want to see Hidari in terms of him interacting with Sarada, and, you know, the idea of we're going to maybe more address, like, family aspects there, and that could be interesting to see how that happens. I'm speculating that maybe the Mamushi Bug situation is more of like an obsessive maybe love or focus on someone else, and then Jura as like the main guy who's not based on anyone is more of the just almost mindless being, just starting from scratch, gaining intelligence and learning everything without the specific influence from anyone like individual. So interesting to see how this all goes in terms of like, okay, we're going to work together to make this happen. So Boruto and Kawaki are still going to be on the same side. Is Boruto now going to be able to just kind of hang out in the village while they sort out what to do here, or is he still going to have to escape again? There's a few big issues like that we're going to have to address. I'm guessing Shikamaru will probably kind of come back into the story. We'll kind of roll that kind of in and more address deals with the villages, I guess, to see what happens here. But again, we do also have to immediately address what's going on with the Soul Thorn bulbs, in that Araya seems to be heading off to get Shinki out, which again is going to result in Gaara being freed as well. And we do still need to address the situation of, like, is Yodo dead? Because a few characters have talked about it in that way, but I'm still not entirely convinced they've just killed her off. So, and the fact that they aren't really mentioning it is kind of interesting to me. And then the same goes for, like, Moegi. Are we just getting Moegi out at this point? Like, we're done with that? Or is, like, maybe is the move that Mamushi is going to make going to be, like, ambushing them as they go for Moegi, because it feels like we maybe need to set up a second Matsuri fight so that like Inojin can be involved in things. But at the same time, they almost seem to be attempting in all of this to roll Inojin more into the Himawari connection into Jura. So like it's not necessarily a thing that like we have to do Moegi's team and Konohamaru against Matsuri. We can more do like Inojin involved with Himawari and Jura, potentially, depending on how things go. And then, of course, you know, Hidari and Sarada, of course. And again, we need Sarada to wake up. It's been enough chapters, I think, at this point where, like, yeah, let's wake Sarada up and see what we're going for, kind of next. So there is going to be, I think, some really fun character interactions that come from this. I know there might be some disappointment about the fact that we didn't really do anything with Boruto and the Karma. We didn't do what looked like potentially an opportunity to have Momoshiki come out. We didn't do that, but they're clearly setting it up for a little bit later on at this point in time. Overall, like I said, I think they did a good job at kind of reframing the chapter into it's a fight to create the space to teleport away. That this was never actually going to be the final fight. That the series kind of finally told you what it was doing rather than leaving everything open and on the table. So that's good in terms of that kind of plot progression. Plus, like, we can't forget that like some of the dialogue that kind of came out here is very interesting. Like the stuff that Jura now knows that Naruto is actually still alive, and this is sort of like revealed to other people that he's still alive as well. That's interesting, and it feels like we're adding to what's been the case for a while now of just Kawaki 1 is not very good at keeping up the act of the switcheroo, and now more and more people are kind of beginning to, I think, see through it in its entirety. So we don't know how that plot's going to go and how long they're going to wait on that before something big happens there. So they're all kind of, I think, very, very interesting kind of points. The only, I think, maybe slight weakness is just that because of the overall setup of the chapter, it did mean that, like, Kawaki's big fight upon return was just buying time. And you can sort of tell that it was that sort of almost, I'm not going to say full-on filler fighting, but, like, it was leaning in that direction. He demonstrated his powers reasonably well, but very clearly he wasn't, like, going absolutely all out in that regard. So it did feel like nearly half the chapter was just like, okay, fight. Okay, let's get to the more kind of impactful stuff. So yeah, there's that. So we had about like 10-15 pages of like, okay, some of this stuff is nice, but I would have liked more kind of character interaction stuff. Like, I would have liked to have maybe caught up with kind of what Araya was doing, but I get why they want to keep the focus where it is. It now allows the series to maybe cut back to Araya now, next chapter, because we've ended the immediate threat of what we're doing here. So they've created some space and time for themselves to work with here. So that is good. But yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 24. Were you expecting maybe more of a big plot beat to happen, or did you like the way that they actually kind of framed the overall kind of like mission, how the fight was going to go down? But let me know what your thoughts were below. Otherwise, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.